It's a hot, sunny day. Sweat droplets are rolling down your face and your back. An iced glass of cold water, or even a dip in the pool, sounds refreshing. We are so fortunate to live in a country where, for the most part, we have water right at our fingertips. We can turn on the faucet, we can get in the shower, we can even walk down the street to a neighborhood pool, for the most part. I've done some research and watched some videos and gathered information about the usable water today and how it's becoming a crisis. I will briefly talk about what water scarcity is and how we see it today, as well as how it has happened. I also would like to involve the scriptures and how that ties into it. Water scarcity is defined as not having enough water for the people within certain regions. This could happen because of the environment, social, political, or economic forces. There are about 1 billion people without clean water today. In the article Water Crisis by the National Geographic, they summed up about how much water there is and how much is actually usable. Nearly 70% of the water of the world, is covered by water. It's a pretty well-known fact. However, only 2.8% of it is actually fresh. The rest is saline and ocean-based. Just 1% of our fresh water is easily accessible. The rest is trapped in glaciers and snowfields. In essence, less than 1% of the planet's water is actually available to us, which is a pretty remarkable thing considering how many people are on this earth and how often we use water in our daily lives. However, most of the water that we have actually is going towards agriculture. This takes up so much of the supply to feed these animals that are later killed and consumed by us. About 70% of the water goes towards agriculture, which involves animals as well as crops. Another problem is the population is rapidly increasing. There's about 7 billion people on this earth today. However, an estimation by 2015 there will be 9.6 billion people, which, if you think of, is a lot of people. However, already from how many we have today, 7 billion, 1 billion of those do not have water or clean water. Imagine how many more people are going to suffer later. We see the impact of the water crisis in different aspects of the world. Just within our own country in America, we saw the drought in California that happened last year, and how many farmers struggled to keep their crops alive or give them water, and many failed, and there was lots of money lost and families that went out without money for the year, which is their living, is growing crops. Another aspect we've seen is in the Colorado River. It's a river that used to run all the way down to the ocean. However, it's so dried up that it hardly gets down the mountain anymore because the water is just disappearing. We're using it up, or it's just disappearing. Animals are using it up. However, there are ways to help prevent that. Because most of the water is going to agriculture, this is the meat that we eat, this can be cut back. It's a billion-dollar industry that relies on its consumers. If we cut back on the amount of meat we eat, this actually could improve and help us save some water somewhere. In the scriptures, in Doctrine and Covenants, section 89, it talks about the word of wisdom. We're well aware that it talks about not consuming tobacco and alcohol and caffeine or hot beverages. However, I believe many people oversee when it talks about eating meat sparingly and that we should eat grains and fruits and vegetables. I believe that Heavenly Father knew beforehand that we were going to have this water crisis, and gave revelation to us to prevent it from happening. I know that this church has also promoted food storage. I believe not just food, but water would be an absolute necessity in that. And having water just in case of a small emergency where the power goes out for a night and you have some backed up for drinking or for cooking or for taking a nice little shower, bath, and that could actually help as well and prepare us for possible more drastic changes as water becomes more depleted over time. We can also cut back on the things that we do in our normal lives. This could involve taking shorter showers, eating less meat, eating more fruits and veggies, and then maybe even having your own small garden and learning to do that. There are only a few ideas. I'm sure there are many more out there. In conclusion, I'd like to challenge you all to cut back on what you use your water for and to eat less meat and be more aware of the earth around you and what it's costing us. I know that if we don't do anything to change this and to change our habits today, most of the water will be used up before we know it, and the next generation will truly struggle.